I got your message, Zachary. Jose passed it along just like he promised. You know I love you, Zachary, but even so, here's my response. Fuck you. This is Spines. I know what Grove means. I mean, not exactly, but I have an informant now. Turns out this invitation to meet was the real deal. She told me what she knows, and that's a whole lot more than I had before. I'm gonna call her Winry, because I was watching Full Metal Alchemist when I got her email. We sat down and we talked, and she told me what little she knows about who's looking for me and what they want. Before I get into the stuff with the Seekers and the Grove, though, let me tell you what happened with Jose. Finding Jose was a lot simpler than with the others because he just sent me an email asking to meet. And this time, unlike when I got that email from Bilal, it was actually him. Sort of. Of course, given the trap I walked into when I went to meet Bilal, I staked the place out before I went in. At first I thought I had the wrong address. I assumed it would be a house or maybe a cafe. Instead, it was a strip club. After I spent the whole afternoon out on the street watching the place, I decided it would be worth the risk to go in. So in I went. Of course, the first person I encountered was the bouncer. He was, in most respects, very bouncer-ish. Tall, muscular, surly, with his black hair in a buzz cut. The only thing that didn't fit about this guy's appearance was his eyes. They were bright green with thick, dark lashes that most women would kill for, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't wearing mascara. He didn't say a word, he just waved me on through. As I passed by him, though, I thought I heard him say something. I thought he said, "I hear San Diego is nice this time of year." I turned around. "What?" I asked. He stared at me, totally blank. He might as well have been a statue. So I kept going. It actually wasn't too bad, at least as strip clubs go. I mean, sure, it was dim and a little bit grimy, but at least they seemed to really enforce their no-smoking policy. There weren't a whole lot of customers at that point, just a few guys at tables scattered around the room near the stage. None of them looked the way I remembered Jose, although I'll admit my memory of him was kind of hazy. I went to the bar and sat there until I got the bartender's attention. He was a short, wiry little guy with a pencil mustache and a Hawaiian shirt. The kind of guy who gets whacked for being a rat in gangster movies. As he came up to me, though, I couldn't help but notice his eyes. They were the same beautiful green, the same thick black lashes as the bouncer. Maybe they were brothers, I thought, even though they didn't really look alike except for that one feature. I asked the bartender if he knew where I could find Jose. He cupped a hand around his ear. "Are you looking for Joey?" he asked, even though it was quite enough that he should have been able to hear me the first time. "Jose," I corrected him. "Oh, because Joey's my name," he said. "You sure you ain't looking for me, little bird?" "The guy I'm looking for is named Jose," I said, starting to get nervous. "Can't help you there, little bird," he said. "You'll have to talk to one of the girls. Of course, they don't talk for free, know what I mean?" I asked him where the girls were. He pointed at the empty stage. "Take a seat. Jojo's up next. She might be able to help." I started toward a spot next to the stage, but he told me there was a 1-drink minimum, so I got a beer. As I carried my drink away from the bar, Joey called something out. "There are cities other than this one, and lovers you have yet to meet." That one stopped me dead. I went back and asked him what the hell that meant. He shrugged. "Exactly what I said. Now hurry up before you miss Jojo's number." A memory from before the attic. I'm working in a store. I'm not sure what kind. I stand behind the counter and take people's money and put it in a clunky old cash register. A man steps forward and hands me some money. A crumpled $5 bill. As the money passes from his hand to mine, I see something. It's not really a vision or even an image. It's more like a story written in the contours of his face. It's a story of two deaths. One is of this man bleeding and gasping, his torso crushed and his leg shattered as his car crashes into a tree. It's something that happens not too long from now. The other death comes when his hair is much thinner than it is today, thinner and full of white strands. In this death, he's watching TV. When it goes to commercial, he rises from his patched old armchair and then crumples to the floor. I see these two stories radiate out from this moment in this store, and I see my place in it. This point at which I can either give him his change as $1.02 or $1.05. I see the microscopic shifts that begin with the way he spends that change, the shifts that will become bigger and bigger as the days and weeks go by. So I reach into the cash register and find 5 dimes instead of 2 quarters, and I grant this stranger a long life. The music started up just as I sat down next to the stage. Jojo came out and danced, getting less and less clothed as it went on. I'll admit, she was beautiful and it was quite a show, even though I was nervous and focused on finding Jose. Don't worry, Zachary. Sure, I was tempted. But I don't know if we have an open relationship or not, so I'm playing it safe. Anyway, Jojo danced, and some of the men slipped dollar bills into her G-string, and then it was my turn. I was a little distracted by her navel ring at first, but then I got a good look at her face for the first time. You guessed it. Bright green eyes, thick black lashes, the same pair of eyes for the 3rd time in an afternoon. I hear you're looking for Jose, she said as she danced, just loud enough for me to hear. Yeah, I said. Can you tell me where to find him? I don't know, she said. Have you thought about why you want to find him? Whether the truth is really worth it, no matter what it is? Because you have other choices, you know. You can go anywhere you want. She went off to dance in front of another customer, leaving me to think over that question. On the surface, it's pretty obvious why I'd want to find Jose, just like I want to find all the others. Except that I haven't really gotten the result I wanted from any of the others. Most of the others have either refused to speak, been unable to, or they've tried to kill me. Why should Jose be any different? And then there's the whole is the truth worth it question. It's not the first time I've thought about this. The truth about me and my history might be terrible. I might be a serial killer or a Nazi or something. So is the truth necessarily going to be worth it? After a minute, I made my decision and waved some cash to call Jojo back over. I made up my mind, I said. I want to see Jose. She sighed like I'd disappointed her, even though I'd just stuffed a truly generous amount of money into her underwear. Fine. Don't say we didn't warn you, she said. She snapped her fingers and a waitress appeared next to me. Jolene will show you to the manager's office. Jolene led me down a hall and up a flight of stairs. I don't need to tell you what her eyes looked like, do I? Yeah, didn't think so. Anyway, she led me up the stairs to a dim little landing. The sign on the door said manager. She knocked and walked away without waiting to see what happened. A voice inside yelled, "Come in," and I opened the door. Before I say anything else about Jose and about your message, Zachary, let's talk about Winry. Here's what she had to say once we finally met. The Seekers aren't a religious order, despite the Skullman's ceremonial blades and rituals and whatnot. They're more like specialists in a branch of the sciences that people thought had withered and fallen off the tree a long time ago. Like alchemy and phrenology and astrology. Except, in this case, it seems like they actually get results. Now, I bet you're wondering what I was wondering. What is this science? Here's what Winry had to say. The Seekers of Dodona are dedicated to the full realization of human potential. Now, if you're thinking, that sounds like some motivational speaker bullshit, I'm right there with you. But then Winry explained it a little more, and it started to make more sense. Apparently, the Seekers have known for a long time that some among us have abilities the others don't. Some of these are ones you know about. Some of us are born stronger, faster, smarter. But then there's the other stuff. Like, I don't know, the ability to pull every drop of water from a human body without touching it? Or kneading human flesh like clay while keeping it alive? Or transforming oneself into a memory? Yeah, that kind of stuff. As Winry explained it, the Seekers have been around for a long, long time. And over the generations, they've spent all their time and energy mapping and collecting and cataloging and searching for the source of these exceptional abilities. Turns out there's way more of that going on than you might think. I asked her, so when they find us, they sacrifice us to the gods or something? Winry shook her head. We're scientists, she said. We don't do stuff like that. I don't know who that skull guy was or how he found you or what he was trying to do, but he obviously knew something because, well... And she gestured around at this city. This city that has been nibbled by dust storms and had its youth disappear into the streets, and its people reshaped into sculptures. Yeah, he definitely did something, all right. I asked her if that's what she meant before, when she said an apostate might do some of the things the Skull Man did in the attic. She nodded and told me that the Seekers believe science is the right path. Science is slow and frustrating, but the Seekers believe it's important to understand why something works. It's not just important whether or not it does work. The way Winry described it, using rituals and unmapped powers is cheating. Then I finally got up the courage to ask her about the 3 words: grove, mosaic, trumpet. And here's where I started to understand the problem with having Winry as an informant. She doesn't actually know that much. I don't know what they mean, she said. We, the Seekers, we use those words like a secret handshake. But I'm just entry level. You have to be with them for years. You have to be a full member before you know what they mean. That's right. My whistleblower is a goddamn intern. Apparently they operate on this kind of apprenticeship system where you spend years being vetted and trained before you finally graduate to full membership. Winry says she knows people in their 40s who are still apprentices. So it's going to be a while before she knows anything of real value. But she did give me a little bit more. Specifically about the grove part. The rumor among the apprentices is that grove, mosaic, and trumpet refer to steps in a process. Apparently, of those 3 phases, only phase grove has been completed. And I remind you, this group has been around for hundreds of years. Winry told me another rumor about the grove phase. Some people think the grove was a place where one of the long-dead Seekers of Dodona acquired information, important information pointing the group toward a way to awaken this human potential they're so keen on maximizing. Essentially, Winry said, Phase Grove allowed them to develop the plan for Mosaic and Trumpet. Very, very long-term plans. It gave them the blueprint they've been following ever since. That's it? I asked. Grove was a planning session? And you're still talking about it hundreds of years later? Winry told me it wasn't so much a planning session as an epiphany. It happened in a grove, obviously. And there are rumors that it involved somebody with a special ability. Somebody whose special ability allowed them to see the human genome, like with his eyes. But how that worked, or how it leads to phase mosaic and phase trumpet, she didn't know. So there you have it. Some dude dropped acid in a grove or something, and they've been following his plan ever since. Not a lot to go on. She did tell me something else, though, and that is that the Seekers don't have a lot of money and they aren't all that well equipped. As in, they have their labs in garages and basements, and they siphon grant money from their day jobs in sciences to fund their projects. Based on what Winry told me, they certainly don't have squads of paramilitary goons they can send out to trap people like me. So that brings me to my big question. If those guys pretending to be Bilal weren't actually the Seekers, who were they? Who else is after me? As soon as I opened the door to the manager's office, I saw an old man sitting at a desk. He looked like someone's grandfather, his back a little hunched, his head almost completely bald. But his eyes, though, they were still that beautiful green, and the lashes were still thick and black as coal. "You're a good tipper," he said as I sat down in the chair across from him. "We appreciate that." "And you have some good moves on that stage," I replied. "I appreciate that." He smiled. "I make a mean gin and tonic, too, if you want to stop at the bar again on your way out." I asked him why he reached out to me. He sighed. "I did it as a favor to Zachary. He helped me out with a little problem, and in exchange, I agreed to try to convince you to move on." I asked him what he meant by that. Move on to what and from where? How can I move on if I don't know where I started? He shrugged. "It's a complicated life we lead, people like us," he said. "Zachary thinks you should just cut your losses and move on. Go to a different city, start a new life, forget about all this." I said, "Tell Zachary I said tough shit. It's not just for your sake, you know." He gestured around. "Look at everything that's happening to this city. Do you think it's normal that all these strange things are happening and none of the normals are talking about it? The media hasn't covered it? That's because of you. You and Zachary being in the same place. Together, it's bringing the strange ones out of the woodwork. It's making these things seem normal." I tried to get him to elaborate, but he wouldn't say any more about that. So I asked him about something else. I asked him to tell me about what happened in the attic. Jose shook his head. "No, I promised Zachary. And I owe him a big favor," he said. And I could tell from the look on his face that even if he didn't owe Zachary, he probably wouldn't have told me anything. It was almost like he pitied me. I knew I wasn't going to win this argument. So I got up and I said goodbye, and I left Jose to dance and serve drinks and keep the books and guard the door, all by themselves. Zachary, I want you to listen carefully. I'm not moving on. Not till I find you. Not until I understand what happened to us in that attic. And you don't have the right to ask me to stop because this isn't just for you. This is for me. So you either join me or you stay the hell out of my way. Your choice. Spines is a production of Zoom Doom Stories. It's narrated by Ren Jones, Written by Jamie Killen. Website and logos by Benjamin Pond. Produced by Jamie Killen and Benjamin Pond. You can support Spines by visiting patreon.com/Spines Podcast and by subscribing and leaving a review on iTunes.